I am standing on the front porch of the big house where I used to live, my heart racing so fast it feels like a drum in my chest. When the door finally opens, it only moves a few inches. My mother-in-law, Patricia Lawson, steps into the frame, her face as cold as a winter morning. She doesn't invite me in. She doesn't even smile. She just looks at me with those sharp, judging eyes that have always made me feel small. "You shouldn't be here," she says, her voice low and mean. "I'm here to pick up my daughter, Sophie," I reply. I try to keep my voice steady, but I can hear it trembling. My hands are clenched at my sides. Her lips tighten into a thin, hard line. "No, you're not," she says firmly. Behind her, I hear a sound that makes my heart ache. It is Sophie, laughing faintly in the living room. My chest tightens painfully, because I miss her so much it hurts to breathe. "You don't get to decide that," I say, trying to find my strength. Patricia just tilts her head. "Actually, I already did," she says. Then she shuts the door in my face. The click of the lock echoes like a gunshot. My hands shake as I stare at the closed door, the white paint looking blurred through the tears I refuse to let fall. This didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, careful plan that Patricia built brick by brick while I wasn't looking. For months, she has been telling everyone in our small town that I am unstable. She told the neighbors I was irresponsible. She told our family friends that I was an unfit mother who couldn't handle the stress of raising a child. And somehow the worst part happened. People started to believe her. They saw her as the helpful grandmother stepping in to save a broken family. They didn't see the way she whispered in my husband's ear when I was in the other room. They didn't see the way she took over every small task until I felt like a guest in my own home. Patricia is a master of making lies sound like the truth. She painted me as a villain so she could be the hero. But she made one big mistake. She thought I was just going to go away and cry. She thought I would give up because she was powerful. She has no idea how far a mother will go to get her child back. I walk slowly back to my car and sit in the driver's seat, staring at my phone. My screen is filled with unread messages I sent to my husband, Evan. I see the logs of canceled visits and the long list of excuses Patricia gave me over the last few weeks. Every time I tried to see Sophie, something came up. Sophie had a cold. Sophie was at a playdate. Sophie was sleeping and shouldn't be disturbed. At first, I believed her. I thought I was just having bad luck. But sitting here in the quiet of my car, the truth hits me like a wave. I wasn't being kept away by chance. This was a wall she built to keep me on the outside. Every excuse was a lie. Every missed phone call was blocked. Even Evan started to distance himself from me, his voice getting colder every time we spoke. He was listening to his mother's poison every single day while I was working extra shifts to provide for our future. I realized that if I wanted to see my daughter again, I couldn't just ask for permission. I had to fight for her. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I needed a plan. My phone buzzed in my hand, and I saw a text from a lawyer I had secretly contacted. It was the first step in a long, difficult journey. Patricia had money and influence, but I had the truth. I spent the next few days gathering everything I could find. I looked for old emails, saved voicemails, and even talked to the few friends who hadn't turned their backs on me. I realized that Patricia had been leaving a trail of breadcrumbs without even knowing it. She was so confident in her power that she became sloppy. She sent emails from my account that didn't sound like me. She made agreements on my behalf that I never signed. The more I looked, the more I found. It wasn't just a mother-in-law being difficult. It was a woman trying to erase me from my own life. I felt a cold anger growing inside me. It replaced the sadness and the fear. I wasn't the unstable woman she described. I was a mother whose child had been stolen by a liar. I stayed up all night organizing my papers into a thick folder. This folder was my ticket back into the house. It was the proof she couldn't deny. I remember the first time Patricia tried to undermine me. It was shortly after Sophie was born. I was exhausted, and Patricia told me I should go sleep while she watched the baby. When I woke up 4 hours later, she had already changed Sophie's first outfit and fed her a bottle, even though I wanted to breastfeed. "You were sleeping so deeply, I didn't want to wake you," she said with a sweet smile. But that smile didn't feel right. From that day on, She made me feel like I was always one step behind. If Sophie cried, Patricia would grab her before I could get across the room. If I bought a new toy, Patricia would say it was dangerous and replace it with one she bought. She slowly made me doubt my own instincts as a mother. She made me feel like a failure in my own nursery. I realized now that she was planting seeds of doubt in everyone's mind, including mine. She wanted to be the primary person in Sophie's life. She wanted to be the mother, and she wanted me to be the problem that needed to be solved. Well, the problem was about to walk back through her front door. A week after she slammed the door in my face, I drove back to the house. This time, I didn't go alone. I had my folder in the passenger seat and a sense of calm that I hadn't felt in months. I knew Evan would be home because it was a Saturday. I needed him to see what his mother had been doing behind his back. I needed him to choose between the woman who gave him a daughter and the woman who was trying to break our family apart. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw Patricia through the window. She was playing with Sophie on the floor. It looked like a perfect, happy scene, but I knew it was built on a foundation of lies. My heart ached to see Sophie, but I stayed focused. I walked up to the porch and knocked. Not a soft, polite knock this time, but a firm, loud one that demanded to be answered. I waited, counting the seconds. I could hear footsteps approaching. The door opened, and there was Patricia again, her face already twisting into a scowl. But before she could speak, I stepped forward so she couldn't shut the door. "I'm not leaving this time, Patricia," I said. Patricia tried to push the door shut, but I held my ground. "Get off my property before I call the police," she hissed. Her eyes were full of hate. Behind her, Evan appeared in the hallway. "What's going on?" he asked, looking caught between us. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. He didn't look like the man I married. He looked like someone who had been told 1,000 lies and didn't know what to believe anymore. "Evan, she's harassing us," Patricia said, her voice suddenly changing to a soft, worried tone. "I told her Sophie is busy, but she just won't listen. She's making a scene again." She looked at him with fake concern, playing the part of the protective grandmother. I looked at Evan and held up the folder. "I'm not here to make a scene, Evan," I said, my voice clear and loud enough for him to hear. "I'm here to show you the truth about why I haven't been around. I'm here to show you what your mother has been doing while you were at work." Evan hesitated, looking from me to the folder and then to his mother. The tension in the air was so thick you could almost touch it. "Don't listen to her, Evan," Patricia snapped, her voice getting sharp again. "She's just trying to cause trouble. She's not well." But Evan was looking at me now, really looking at me. He saw that I wasn't screaming or crying. He saw that I was calm and determined. "Let her in, Mom," he said quietly. Patricia gasped as if he had slapped her. "Evan, after everything she's done, you're going to let her upset Sophie." Evan ignored her and opened the door wider. "Come in, Olivia," he said. I stepped into the hallway, the familiar smell of the house hitting me. It felt like a lifetime since I had been allowed inside. I walked into the living room, and there was Sophie. She looked up and her whole face lit up. "Mommy," she cried, running toward me. I dropped my folder and caught her in my arms, holding her so tight I never wanted to let go. I buried my face in her hair and finally let out a sob. This was what I had been fighting for. This little girl was my whole world, and no one was going to take her from me again. Patricia stood in the doorway, her face red with fury, watching as her perfect control started to slip away. I sat on the sofa with Sophie on my lap, her small hands holding onto my shirt like she was afraid I would disappear again. Evan sat across from us, looking uncertain. Patricia stood by the fireplace, her arms crossed tightly. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. "Evan, you are making a huge mistake." I reached down and picked up the folder I had dropped. I didn't say anything to her. I just looked at Evan and started pulling out the first set of papers. "Remember when you told me I missed Sophie's doctor appointment back in July?" I asked him. He nodded slowly. "You were so angry that day. You said I was being irresponsible." I pulled out a printout of my phone records. I never got a call or a text about that appointment. But look at this. I found out that the clinic received a call from me the day before, canceling the visit. The call came from your mother's house while I was at work. Evan took the paper, his eyes widening as he read the details. I could see the first crack in the wall of lies. He looked up at Patricia, but she just scoffed. I don't know what that is. She probably forged it, she said. But her voice was a little too high. I didn't stop there. I pulled out the next set of evidence. And what about the emails? I asked. I showed him copies of emails sent from my private account to our friends and family. In the emails, I was saying that I needed a break from being a mother and that Patricia was taking over because I couldn't handle the pressure. I never wrote these, Evan, I said. Look at the IP addresses. Every single one of these emails was sent from a device registered in this house. Evan flipped through the pages, his face turning a deep shade of red. He was a tech guy. He knew exactly what he was looking at. He knew that IP addresses don't lie. He saw the timestamps and the locations. He saw the words that were meant to destroy my reputation, written by his own mother. He looked at Patricia, who was now backed against the wall. Mom, did you do this? He asked, his voice shaking with anger. Did you actually log into her email? Patricia tried to laugh it off. It was for her own good. She was struggling, and I had to make sure people understood why I was helping so much. She was admitting it, but she was still trying to pretend she was the hero. The room went dead silent after Patricia's confession. Even Sophie seemed to sense the tension and grew quiet in my arms. Evan stood up, the papers crumpling in his hands. He looked at the woman who had raised him, and for the first time, he saw her clearly. He saw the manipulation and the cruelty. He realized that the woman he had been defending was the one who was destroying his life. You stole her passwords? Evan asked, his voice getting louder. You lied to our friends? You told me she was skipping appointments on purpose? Patricia tried to step toward him. I was protecting you, Evan. I was protecting Sophie. She isn't like us. She doesn't have our standards. Evan let out a harsh, bitter laugh. Our standards? You mean lying and stealing? Is that what we do now? He looked disgusted. I sat there, holding Sophie, feeling a strange sense of relief. The truth was finally out in the open. The wall of lies was crumbling, and there was nothing Patricia could do to stop it. She had tried to keep me out of my daughter's life, but in doing so, she had pushed her own son away. I wasn't finished yet. I had one more piece of proof that I knew would be the final blow. I pulled out a small digital recorder from my bag. A few weeks ago, I had managed to record a conversation between Patricia and a local real estate agent. I had suspected she was trying to do something even bigger than just keeping me away from Sophie. I hit the play button, and the room was filled with Patricia's voice. My son and his wife are separating, Patricia's voice said on the recording. I need to find a way to get full custody of the child, so I can move her to my estate in the city. Olivia won't be a problem. Everyone already thinks she's crazy. The recording went on to describe how she was planning to use her influence to make sure I never got a fair hearing in court. Evan's face went from red to a ghostly, sickly pale. He looked like he was going to be sick. He turned to his mother, his eyes filled with a cold fury I had never seen before. You were planning to take Sophie away from both of us, he whispered. Patricia didn't have an answer this time. She just stared at the recorder as if it were a ghost. I thought you loved her, Evan said to his mother, his voice cracking. I thought you were helping because you cared about Sophie. But you just wanted a trophy. You wanted to own her. Patricia finally broke. She started screaming about how ungrateful we were and how much she had sacrificed for this family. She called me names I won't repeat and told Evan he was weak for believing me. She was like a cornered animal, lashing out at everyone around her. I didn't say a word. I just stood up, still holding Sophie, and moved toward the door. I didn't want my daughter to hear any more of this poison. Evan followed me, stopping only to look at his mother one last time. Get out, he said. Patricia stopped screaming. What? She asked, looking stunned. Get out of this house, Mom, Evan repeated, his voice firm and final. This is our home, not yours. You are never to come near my wife or my daughter again without a lawyer present. Patricia tried to protest, but Evan pointed to the door. He wasn't playing anymore. He had finally seen the truth, and he was choosing his family over his mother's control. Patricia realized she had lost. She grabbed her bag and stormed out of the house, throwing one last hateful look in my direction. The sound of her car speeding away was the most beautiful thing I had ever heard. The house felt different immediately, lighter, somehow. Evan turned to me, his eyes full of tears. "Olivia, I am so sorry," he said. "I should have known. I should have listened to you from the start. I let her do this to us." I looked at him, and for a moment I wanted to stay angry. I wanted to tell him all the ways he had failed me. But then I looked at Sophie, who was smiling at both of us, and I knew that anger wouldn't help us move forward. "We have a lot to talk about, Evan," I said quietly. "But right now, I just want to be a mother again." He nodded, wiping his eyes. We spent the rest of the day just being together, the three of us. It wasn't perfect, and there was a lot of healing to do. But for the first time in months, I wasn't an outsider. I was home. The proof I had brought wasn't just about winning a fight. It was about saving my family. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Evan and I had to sit down and go through every single thing Patricia had touched. We had to call the clinic to fix Sophie's records. We had to send a mass email to our friends and family, explaining the truth without being too dramatic. It was embarrassing to admit how much we had been manipulated, but it was necessary. Most people were shocked, and many apologized for believing the rumors Patricia had spread. The hardest part was rebuilding the trust between Evan and me. He felt a lot of guilt for letting his mother come between us. He had been so used to her controlling nature that he hadn't realized when it turned into something truly evil. We started going to counseling, which helped us communicate better. I realized that Patricia hadn't just attacked me. She had attacked our entire relationship. She had used our weaknesses against us. But seeing her emails and hearing that recording had changed everything for Evan. He was now my biggest supporter. He made sure that his mother had no way to contact us. He even changed the locks on the house and got a restraining order to make sure we were safe. One afternoon, I was sitting in the park with Sophie, watching her run around on the grass. It was a beautiful day, and for the first time, I didn't feel like someone was watching me or judging me. I felt free. A woman I knew from the neighborhood walked up to me. She had been one of the people who had stopped talking to me during the unstable rumors. She looked nervous. "Olivia," she said, stopping a few feet away. "I wanted to say I'm sorry. I heard what happened with Patricia. I feel terrible that I believed those things about you. You're a wonderful mother." I looked at her and smiled. It was a small moment, but it meant a lot. It was another piece of my life being put back together. "Thank you," I said. "I'm just glad the truth is out." She nodded and moved on, and I went back to watching Sophie. I realized that my reputation was being restored, one person at a time. I didn't have to hide anymore. I didn't have to feel ashamed. I had stood up for myself and my daughter, and I had won. My life was finally my own again. Of course, Patricia didn't go away quietly. She tried to send letters through her own lawyers, claiming that we were alienating her from her granddaughter. She tried to say that we were the ones who were being unfair. But every time she tried something, we just handed over the folder of evidence to our own legal team. The proof was undeniable. No judge in their right mind would give her access to Sophie after seeing what she had done. Her influence in the town started to fade too. People talk, and the story of the grandmother who tried to steal her grandchild spread quickly. She was no longer the respected leader of the garden club or the local charity board. She was the woman who had been caught lying and sabotaging her own family. She eventually stopped trying to contact us and moved away to the city she had talked about on the recording. I don't know what she's doing now, and to be honest, I don't care. She is no longer a part of our lives, and that is all that matters. We have our peace back, and we are guarding it with everything we have. Evan and I celebrated Sophie's 4th birthday a few months later. It was a small party, just a few close friends and family members who had stayed loyal to us. There was no drama, no sabotage, and no hero trying to take the credit. It was just a happy little girl blowing out her candles and eating cake. I looked around the room and felt a deep sense of gratitude. I remembered standing on that porch with the doors slammed in my face. I remembered the feeling of total despair. But I also remembered the moment I decided to fight back. I had learned that you can't always play nice when someone is trying to destroy you. Sometimes you have to gather your proof and stand your ground. I looked at Evan and he squeezed my hand. We had come a long way from that dark day. We were a team again, and our daughter was growing up in a house filled with love and truth. As Sophie laughed and opened her presents, I knew that I had done the right thing. I had reclaimed my life, my daughter, and my family, and no one would ever take them away from me again. Sometimes I still have nightmares about that door clicking shut. I wake up in a sweat, my heart pounding, afraid that I've lost Sophie all over again. But then I hear her breathing softly in the next room, or I feel Evan's hand on mine, and I know that it was just a bad memory. The trauma of what Patricia did won't disappear overnight, but it is getting easier to handle every day. We've made it a rule in our house that there are no secrets. If something feels wrong, we talk about it immediately. We don't let outside voices influence how we feel about each other. It's a simple rule, but it has saved us from the kind of manipulation that almost ruined us. I've also become more active in my community, helping other parents who might be facing similar struggles. I tell them my story so they know they aren't alone and that they can fight back. My experience with Patricia taught me that the truth is the most powerful tool we have. It might take time to come out, but when it does, it can turn the world upside down. I often think about that folder of evidence. I still have it locked away in a safe place. I don't look at it often, but knowing it's there gives me a sense of security. It is the physical proof of my strength and my love for my daughter. It is the reminder that I am capable and that I am a good mother. I don't need Patricia's approval, and I never did. Sophie is doing great. She is a happy, confident child who knows she is loved. She doesn't remember the months when I was kept away, and I'm glad for that. To her, I've always been there. We have a bond that is unbreakable, and I make sure to cherish every moment we have together. Whether we are reading a book, playing in the garden, or just sitting quietly, I am thankful for every second. The journey was long and painful, but it led me to a place of peace and clarity. I am Olivia Lawson, and I am a mother who fought for her child and won. And that is a story I will always be proud to tell. Looking back, the biggest lesson I learned was about the power of standing up for yourself. For a long time, I let Patricia treat me badly because I wanted to be a good daughter-in-law. I thought if I was just patient and kind, she would eventually change. But some people don't want to change, they want to control. And when that control starts to hurt the people you love, you have to stop being nice and start being firm. I realized that by staying silent, I was actually helping Patricia carry out her plan. My silence was her greatest weapon. The moment I started speaking up and showing the proof, her power disappeared. It was a scary thing to do, especially against someone with so much influence, but it was the only way to save my family. I now tell my friends to trust their instincts. If something feels like manipulation, it probably is. Don't wait until the door is slammed in your face to start gathering your proof. Be proactive, be strong, and never let anyone make you feel like you don't belong in your own child's life. Our house is a happy place now. There is laughter in the halls and a sense of calm that wasn't there before. Even the garden, which Patricia used to control with an iron fist, is now a bit wild and colorful, just the way I like it. Sophie helps me plant flowers and pull weeds, and we don't care if we get a little dirty. It's our garden now. Evan and I have our weekend routines back, and we make sure to spend quality time together without any outside distractions. We found a new set of friends who value honesty and support, and we've let go of the people who were only there for the gossip. It's a smaller circle, but it's a much healthier one. We are building a life that is based on our values, not Patricia's. And while the past still stings sometimes, we are focused on the future. We have so many plans for Sophie and for ourselves, and for the first time, I feel like those plans are actually within our reach. The nightmare is over and the morning has finally come. One day, Sophie asked me why we don't see Grandma Patricia anymore. I took a deep breath and knelt down to her level. I didn't want to lie to her, but I also didn't want to burden her with the whole truth. Grandma Patricia needed to go away for a while to learn how to be kind, I told her. We love her, but we have to make sure our home is a happy and safe place for everyone. Sophie seemed to accept that. She nodded and went back to her toys. It was a simple explanation for a complicated situation, but it was the truth. Maybe one day, when she is much older, I will tell her the whole story. I will tell her about the folder and the recording and the door on the porch. But for now, she just needs to know that she is safe and that her mother and father will always be there to protect her. We are a family and we are whole. And that is all that matters. I watched her play and I felt a deep sense of peace. I had done my job. I had protected my child. As the years go by, the memory of Patricia's influence fades more and more. We hear news about her occasionally. She's still in the city, still trying to impress people with her money. But it feels like news from another world. She has no power over us anymore. She is just a distant relative with a sad history of manipulation. I've grown a lot too. I'm no longer the shy, uncertain woman who moved into this town years ago. I am a woman who knows her worth and who isn't afraid to fight for what is right. I found my voice and I use it every day. I've also realized that a perfect family doesn't exist, and that's okay. What matters is that we are real, we are honest, and we are together. Our family has been through the fire, and we've come out stronger on the other side. We have a bond that was tested and proven, and that is something no one can ever take away. I am proud of the life we've built, and I am proud of the woman I've become. On a quiet evening, as the sun was setting over the hills, I sat on the porch with a cup of tea. Evan was inside reading to Sophie, and their voices drifted out through the open window. It was the same porch where the door had once been slammed in my face. But now, the door was wide open, welcoming the cool breeze and the sounds of a happy home. I looked out at the street and felt a sense of complete and total victory. Not a loud, bragging victory, but a quiet, deep one. I had reclaimed my place in the world. I had shown the proof that couldn't be denied, and I had won back the thing that mattered most, my daughter's life. I took a sip of my tea and smiled. The world was right again. I was no longer the outsider. I was the heart of this home, and I was exactly where I was meant to be. The journey was long, but it was worth every step. I am home, and I am finally at peace.